The always challenging Road America is host for the next round of the Pirelli GT4 America season. This is race one of the weekend from America's National Park of Speed. My name is Ryan Marine. Great to have you with us. Calvin Fish is alongside, and DJ Clark is doing the yeoman's work down in the pit lane here today. Great grid of GT4 cars already starting to roll on their formation laps here under overcast skies in Wisconsin. A look at the weather. Temperatures right around the 70-degree mark, give or take. On the Fahrenheit scale, 26.8 degrees Celsius. High humidity and weather, Calvin, has been the story throughout the day. Intermittent rain showers coming when we least expect it, and then when it does call for rain, the rain doesn't show up. What, if anything, can we take from the forecast for this upcoming 1 hour race?
Well, the forecast says no rain, so
Good.
That means it's probably going to rain about halfway through.
That's the way the day.
Weekends.
Yeah, it's the way the day and the weekend have gone to this point. Great to have Pirelli GT4 America back in action as ever. A bumper crop of GT4 cars across 3 classes: Silver, Pro-Am, and Am. So many storylines throughout this field, Cal, but as ever, when we come to Road America, we want to talk about the racetrack because Road America is a special place.
It's spectacular. So much elevation change, high-speed straightaways, big deep brake zones, makes for great racing.
Here's how they'll line up. John Capestro-Dubets for RS1, set to start on the overall pole next to Tyler Gonzalez in the Smooth Racing Supra. He's got a new teammate, Corey Lewis, his co-driver here this weekend. Roman DeAngelis, fresh off a test in the LMH Spec Valkyrie. He'll start third. Colin Garrett alongside. Hannah Grisham, great qualifying effort, will start next to Kevin Boehm in 5th and 6th, respectively. Then it's the Pro-Am pole sitter, Kurt Swearingen, already a winner in GT America today. Demi Chaukas, the Canadian, alongside. Matt Bell starts in 9th next to Black Dog Speed Shop's Tony Gaples on what is effectively his home track. James Walker Jr. and James Clay on the M-Class pole, 2-time and defending series champion. Johann Schwartz, welcome back to the championship. He joins Tech Sport Racing alongside Jonathan Newdorf, Rob Holland in the second-placed M-Class car alongside. Then it's Todd Perriott and Colin Harrison back in row 8. Row 9, Roland Crines, his second straight weekend of racing here at Road America, and Demir Hotz, who will have Andy Lee as his teammate today. Michael Oriema back there in the 10th row next to Lance Bergstein. Paul Sparta for Random Vandals will start in the 11th row. Nick Shanny will start next to him, 21st and 22nd. Row 12, Tyler Stone for Auto Technic, and David Peterman for NOLA Sport. Then row 13, Joe Catania and Alexandra Hayner making her debut, coming over from Toyota GR Cup, teamed up with Ryan Eversley. And at the back of the pack is Mark Sharon in the Skip Barber Racing School M-Class entry. Real quick, we've got a chance to hear from DJ Clark down in the pits with late-breaking stories.
Well, we're going to keep you up to date on everything that we can find down here, Ryan. But the thing that I'm watching from the down of the green flag, it's Heart of Racing. They had a fantastic run in GT America earlier today with Gray Newell. Their 2 Aston Martins could be very strong through the field, and I'm picking them to have a surprise result here today.
I think you might have a good eye there, DJ. You're right. Gray Newell was outstanding, nearly won the GT4 class in GT America earlier today. That would have been his first win of the season. Lost out to Kurt Swearingen on the final lap in really difficult conditions. No such conditions here. Track is dry and should be rubbered in after a 90-minute Fanatec GT race that concluded just a few short minutes ago. Sun shining overhead. That's been a rare sight this weekend, but it makes for a beautiful shot of this massive field as they make their way down towards turn 14. RS1 and John Capestro-Dubets, that's the Porsche on pole position, but Tyler Gonzalez is rapid. He's driving in the Smooth Racing Supra, starting on the outside of the front row. JCD, though, with the field under his control as the Supra pace car makes its way down the pit lane, approaching the VP acceleration zone, and the start of today's race in Pirelli GT4 America. JCD presses the loud pedal down, but it's a drag race, Porsche versus Toyota in the run down to turn number 1. This could get interesting for the lead of the race in this 60-minute sprint.
Yeah, 2 silver class entries here. Gonzalez sends it around the outside. JCD trying to hang on. He gives up that lead. And looks like Colin Garrett around the outside. Action in the middle of the pack. There's big contact there towards the tail end of the field.
This will bring out a safety car for sure. Tony Gaples was involved. Paul Sparta looked to be involved. A third car as well. I couldn't identify at first blush. For the moment, Gonzalez does lead. Big mover was Colin Garrett. He went from 4th to 2nd on that start. And now the safety car is out, breaking off what was shaping up to be a dramatic first lap. Someone further back in the pack is in strife. That's one of the Auto Technic cars, it would appear. That's James Walker Jr.
That's the Bimmerworld 82.
You're right. Heartbreak for James.
Second in points right now.
Yep. Yeah, he was pretty confident when I talked to him earlier in the weekend. Hopefully that's just bodywork damage that maybe can be dealt with during this yellow, and they'll have a chance to try and recover.
Yeah, that could be a tough one. The car looks like it's squirming and crabbing a little bit. I think there may be some suspension damage as well as just bodywork and leaning on that tire.
James will be feeling that out. He actually, in his day job for many years, was an automotive engineer by training, and his job entailed crash damage evaluation, so he'd be well positioned to weigh in on this.
Not the start they were looking for. Been one of those seasons. They've had some really strong days, some really days where they haven't had luck on this side, and this one has begun in that vein, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, and tough day too for Randa Vandals. I mentioned that Paul Sparta was involved. They had the debut of their GT3 car at Vinatech GT earlier today, and that race lasted only a corner longer, really.
Yeah, such a shame. So much effort goes into being part of these weekends, and for Paul Sparta and Chris Wilson, they have a handy 63-point lead in the championship, but they need to see if they can keep this car moving.
We'll do our best to sift through what transpired there on the opening lap. But the end result is we are behind the safety car without a lap of green flag racing complete, unfortunately. It's been a little while since these drivers were racing VIR about a month or so ago. Before that, a lengthy break back to May at Circuit of the Americas.
They've been having such a great run with this championship. I mean, this year has been phenomenal in terms of green flag action. During the state of the series announcement here this weekend, they talked about, I think it's 87% of green flag racing in this class this year. And that was on top of a race that did have a few incidents in our last rounds of the championship at VIR. So it's been pretty clean racing this year, but again, the fields are so deep. If something goes wrong, particularly at the start when there's the compression of the field, other cars can get involved.
Saw James Walker Jr. make his way down the pit lane, and the Bimmerworld crew will go to work. Apologies for mis-IDing the team. Auto Technic for so many years with the red hoods, and the Bimmerworld car this year does as well, but two great BMW prep shops, either way you cut it. Let's see if we can ascertain the other car involved. Mentioned Gaples, mentioned Sparta. It looks like Matt Bell was the other one who took some damage in that, because those are the three cars that have yet to come around and complete a lap.
Yeah, and that P1 group, Mercedes coming off a big victory at VIR as well. So highs and lows in motorsport.
For sure. For sure. Definitely a disappointment there for Matt, who shares that car with Alex Vogel. Continues his development in this type of racing. We'll go back and take a look at the car in the paddock. Hopefully it's damage that can be repaired, and they can get back into the fun tomorrow for race number 2. So let's reset this. Great start to the race for Tyler Gonzalez to take the lead around the outside, and JCD got swallowed up a little bit. Colin Garrett was able to make the outside move work too, to go from 4th into 2nd. JCD back to 3rd in the Community Beer Works Porsche Cayman right there. Then it's the leader in Pro-Am, Roman DeAngelis, who's splitting a number of silver class entries. Kevin Bowman, Hannah Grisham, Kurt Swearingen currently 2nd in the Pro-Am class. And this Porsche, here's your leader in Am, with Rob Holland behind the wheel of that Road Tech racing car.
I'm sure if James Clay got wrapped up in that. He had the pole position for the M class, so he and Charlie Postons have had one of those years. Two-time champions come into this season. Had a victory at VIR, finally broke through, but not the consistency of finishing regularly on the podium like we've seen from that duo.
Yeah, let's see here. He did drop back, did James, down to 16th overall. Trying to remember where that car lined up on the grid to see how much.
He started 12th overall.
Okay, so did drop a few positions. Holland, though, was a big mover at the start of this race. Has that car now in the lead of the race. Corey Lewis is new to the Smooge Racing team here this weekend, joining Tyler Gonzalez, and a chance to hear from him now with DJ.
Well, Ryan, I've been able to catch up with the co-driver of Tyler Gonzalez, Corey Lewis, and Corey, that's just about as perfect of a start as you guys could imagine. Obviously, probably didn't want that yellow to come out, though.
Starts are everything, right? You kept it clean, and Tyler's a wheelman, so he knows what he's doing. So it's great to be up front for sure. The Smooge Racing team has done a heck of a job all weekend long, and dealing with the weather and everything, that track time has been limited, but we roll up the hauler really strong, and Tyler's been an awesome teammate. It's been a little bit since I've been in the Supra, so it's Tyler's an awesome teammate to have, and yeah, great start to have so far. We don't necessarily need the yellow, but you know, these things happen. We'll just keep our heads down and keep pushing forward.
Well, I want to talk to you about track conditions here a little bit, because just as we started talking, the sun made a rare appearance here today. Is that going to change anything for you in the way you've got the car set up, or are you pretty much all conditions at this point?
We're pretty much all conditions. We're ready for whatever it may throw at us, because the radar has been absolutely not useful at all. So we're ready for whatever we got, and we'll keep, like I said, we'll keep our heads down. I'm proud of this team at Smooge Racing, and Toyota Supra GT4 Evo has been really strong so far. So we'll see what we got.
All right, we'll see what they've got, but they're in a great position right now up at the top of the field.
Thanks, DJ. Good to hear from Corey. Good to see him back here. Let's go back to the start of this race, Calvin, see if you can pick this apart.
Matt Bell gets turned there. I'm not sure if that was James Walker who got into him initially, and then Tony Gables has nowhere to go. He gets collected, then Paul Sparta on the inside with the random vandals. That's the green BMW, gets wrapped up in it as well.
Yeah, that was a sizable hit for the BMW and the Mercedes in particular.
Someone was leaning on Matt Bell there, and I'm not sure if that was James or not.
Well, in any case, 3 cars eliminated, and let's see, did James Walker
they lined up behind each other, so there's potential there.
James Walker, who we saw come to the pit lane, don't believe he has emerged, so that might be 4 cars eliminated.
Yeah, they were line astern there, 9th and 11th on the grid.
James Clay and Matt Bell, that is? Okay.
No, James Walker.
Excuse me, James Walker and Matt Bell. Got it. Well, that might help us ascertain the root cause of this, but ultimately we'll let race control sift through that. And it is, of course, under review, as you would expect. Cleanup continues here at Road America. Back to the Corey Lewis story. This is the car that Tyler Gonzalez has shared this year with John Jesbray, former AM Class champion and a race winner in AM and Pro-Am, running in silver this year. John, a recent graduate from Grand Canyon University, elected to step away from motorsports, despite the fact he's very young, very talented, focus on his burgeoning business career, and that has left a seat open starting here this weekend. Tyler Gonzalez told me he's raced against Corey Lewis before and was thrilled to learn he was going to be his teammate. So all those kind words that Corey was saying about Tyler, Tyler was telling me the same things about Corey earlier in the week, and he's really, really over the moon to have Corey as a teammate.
Yeah, Corey has so much experience, even at the GT3 level as well. But as he said, he's got to get to grips with this Supra once again. GT4 machinery slightly different, doesn't have the downforce. You can't give it the same commitment through some of the corners. But he's got so much experience on some of the biggest races here in North America. So he'll certainly be up to the task when he climbs aboard.
Two-time Sebring 12-hour winner. He won the 24 Hours of Daytona back in 2020. Multi-time Lamborghini Super Trofeo champion here in North America, and actually won the world final as well back in 2015, did Corey Lewis, from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. And
he knows the Andretti family well. He actually talks a little bit like Marco.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. The Andretti family did give him some help early in his career as he was climbing the ladder. And Nazareth, Pennsylvania, as synonymous with motorsports as just about any town that doesn't have an active track these days. Of course, they did have the Nazareth Oval for a number of years.
Yeah, I raced there. That was
did you?
One, yeah.
In what?
ARS. I actually won the race. Yeah, it was tight across the line, but I did manage to win that one.
So that's the old name for what is now Indy Next or Indy Lights, yes. ARS American Racing Series. Who was it close with?
Mike Groff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Made
had a
Indy
decent
starts.
lead and got in traffic at the end and was making all the wrong decisions and just squeaked it.
All right. Well, that's a trip down memory lane I wasn't expecting to take here today, but it happens when you get to the end of the day and have a safety car here. It does look like the cleanup is starting to conclude. That is the Matt Bell car that has taken a sizable hit, as you could see from the side. And that unfortunately was right in the center of the coming together that brought out this safety car on lap 1. So here we are, nearly 12 minutes into this race already, Cal. And haven't really seen much green flag racing. Brings us into that driver change and pit stop strategy conversation. What do you see when you look at timing and scoring?
Well, essentially 23 minutes and 29 seconds into this race is when you could elect to do your driver change. There's an only 1 second minimum stop time. By the time you execute that, that means the driver getting in wouldn't exceed the 35-minute max. So we're not that far away from that once we get back to green flag racing here shortly. And that means that anyone who's got a Pro-Am driver lineup with their Am starting would probably elect to get their Pro in pretty much immediately when that window opens.
We'll be on the lookout for that as we approach the de facto pit window. It's now not a mandatory pit window per se like we've had in years past, but it's more about the maximum stint length rules that are in place. Same for Fanatec GT. Coming through the shot right there, 2 Tech Sport Nissans running inside the top 10. Some shakeup there within the Tech Sport team. Johann Schwartz now driving the number 23, stepping into the seat that Mackay Stevens had held down, joining Jonathan Neudorf in a lineup that's now in the Pro-Am class. They had been running as a silver class, and my understanding is at least part of the thought process for the change was to switch classes effectively, Johann being in the age bracket where you might get that derogation by age down to bronze, and he's been really impressed with his young co-driver here in his first weekend of working with him. And then Colin Harrison behind runs in 10th. He's got the veteran Elevan Goulart as his co-driver, replacing Eric Powell, who has done so much of the work developing this Nissan over the last couple of years. Shame not to see Mackay or Eric in the car, but you know, these things happen over the course of a racing season.
Yeah, shame to see both of those drivers. So much talent there with Eric and Mackay, but also great to see Elevan have his opportunity back in this championship. He's always a feisty competitor, not always in the best machinery, but always dug deep and got some great results. So excited to see what he can do.
His son Ethan has been doing some racing in the GR Cup Series this year as well, which is cool to see that connection extending an additional generation. Elevan's a name I remember, I mean, maybe not growing up watching, but certainly I remember watching before I got to college even. I remember watching him in some of these World Challenge races over the years, so pretty cool to have him in the field here once again. He's made some sporadic starts over the years, but this is a big opportunity for him. And Colin Harrison, his co-driver, who's in the car now, I guess they know each other. Colin's done some track day stuff in an organization Elevan helps to manage, and when Tech Sport offered up a couple of options, they have a relationship too with Elevan. Colin thought it was an easy choice to make, so that's the pairing now for this weekend, and the plan is for the rest of the season. Cleanup is complete at Road America. 45 minutes still on the clock, and Tyler Gonzalez starts to extend that advantage down the front straightaway, coming to the green flag in the restart of the race.
Nice jump there by Tyler Gonzalez. Colin Garrett now immediately under the attack from John Capestro de Betz. Top 3 cars are silver-rated cars. Roman DeAngelis, our Pro-Am leader, sitting there in P4 aboard the Heart of Racing machine.
Jason JCD would love to get one of those positions back. He's trying to do so now, going around the long way around the outside of Colin Garrett in the BMW. That's letting Gonzalez start to escape a little bit. Still side by side. He gets tight here at corner exit, and it's not done yet. Entering into the mix is Roman DeAngelis. There's Kevin Bohm there. Hannah Grisham wants a part of this mix as well.
Yeah, classy racing there between Garrett and JCD to coexist there through turn 3. We're seeing other drivers with a lot more experience not do that in some races earlier in the afternoon. Roman DeAngelis down to the inside, wants to be careful. Remember, there's this interclass dynamic you have to try and not get too involved in.
That's
Thread
right.
your way through.
DeAngelis, the leader in Pro-Am, racing amongst the leaders in the silver class. Garrett on the back foot a little bit. He's dropped a couple of positions on the restart, and Kevin Bohm is a class car. The other Random Vandals entry. Oh, looking up the inside. Garrett gives him room, and that's the reason they made it through, I think. They're still side by side here in the carousel.
Yeah, and there's Hannah Grisham there in the second of the two harder racing machines that you see. Kind of purple colored car with the yellow stripes. Up front, Gonzalez has escaped here a little bit.
And unlike the team car from Heart of Racing, that is a silver entry with Grisham having a really strong second half of the season. Kurt Swearingen, second place in Pro-Am, looking racy too in the ACI Porsche Cayman.
He's coming off a big day, had a great victory in the rain. Had a penalty, had to come through pit lane and drove back to the front and grabbed the win late in the day in GT America GT4 class.
This is Demi Chaukes, Canadian driver, and she is hanging tough with Johann Schwartz, who did make the pass on the restart to gain a position overall. But again, these are two cars in separate classes. Chaukes in silver, Schwartz now in Pro-Am for Tech Sport Racing.
Okay, things starting to settle down now. Track conditions look really good. Nice to see some sunshine here. Tight there along the pit wall. Schwartz trying to make a move there on Swearingen.
Whoa, and he got a little tag up the back. Yeah, that was Chaukes. Johan was trying to back out of that move, and that might have caught Demi off guard a little bit. Damage certainly to the Nissan.
Yeah, he's dropping body parts there. There's something in the middle of the road on the downhill run to turn 3.
I was about to say, Johan had not been in this car before this weekend.
I wonder if Chaukes' car is wounded.
Yep, I think you're right. She's off the pace here. That's too bad. This was a really good start to the race for her. Side by side further up the field, and Garrett and DeAngelis continuing to scrap. You wouldn't know these two were in different classes, and it leaves Garrett vulnerable now to Kevin Bohm, who throws it up the inside and gets to the door.
Yeah. Garrett's used to some rounding round stuff as well, so he's used to going side by side through a lot of these corners, and as a road racer, you're not always used to that. You typically make the move and move on, and I think Garrett's used to just going side by side for many corners.
He is a former South Boston Speedway track champion. A couple of years ago, I was out at VIR, and I decided to head down to South Boston on a Saturday night to watch some of that short track racing out there, and I can guarantee, after watching for one evening, he has gone side by side, swapped some paint more than once in his short track racing career. There's some great drivers there at South Boston. Peyton Sellers is one that has burst onto the scene lately, had some success in that SRX series over the past few years.
This battle continues to rage here between Garrett and Bohm. He's got third in the silver class division right now. Silver car's split with Roman DeAngelis. They're sitting in P3 overall.
Kevin crossed him over there in Canada corner, side by side through Billy Mitchell, and he keeps it planted through the grass. Kevin does finally back out of it. That was a scary moment for Kevin Bohm.
Yeah, and I think this grass is starting to dry out a little bit. We had a deluge here late yesterday, which absolutely saturated this grass, but it doesn't seem to be taking drivers for such a ride as it did earlier in the day now.
Kevin will be feeling that car out. He's a development engineer, development driver in his day job, so another driver that is very adept at feeling out the car. Looks like Schwartz has been able to continue on without too much delay, despite that damage.
Rob Holland, our AM class leader, James Clay, must have been held up a little bit in that scuffle in turn 1. He's a couple of positions back. The Bimmer World number 36.
is closing in. This is the Beamer right here of Clay, number 36, like you said. Closing in on Demir Hott, out of class car. It's a Pro-Am car that he'll turn over to Andy Lee a little bit later on today. Andy filling in for Rodrigo Baptista. And a number of different drivers alongside Demir this season. Stefan Redzinski was one. There's one other
busy time for that group because they actually damaged the chassis here in testing, had to replace it, and then they've had the switch over for Elias Sabo and Andy Lee and Fanatec GT. So the Flying Lizard group have had their hands full over the last few weeks.
I guess it was just Stefan and Rodrigo so far. Andy Lee's the third co-driver. Chalkis has stayed on track, but has dropped back considerably. That's the 34, down to 18th overall at the line, and just saw her lose another position. Tyler Gonzalez, in the meanwhile, is the race leader, has the fastest lap of the race, and an advantage of 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, he's just got so much confidence, this young man, coming off that GR Cup championship win last year. Just beautifully driven there through that high-speed kink, using the curb on the entry, just trimming it through the apex. Perfect line, big radius, and big speed on top of it.
You heard Corey Lewis heaping the praise on Tyler Gonzalez in our interview earlier in the show. Tyler showing why he's such a highly regarded talent. Had a great battle last year in the GR Cup with Gresham Wagner, moving up to GT4 racing with Toyota. It's been a good season so far for Tyler, showcasing his talent against the likes of John Capestre-Dubets and Roman DeAngelis and drivers of that caliber that race in this series.
Bumped into Roman DeAngelis yesterday morning off the rail, popped a little coffee spot here in Elkhart Lake, and he was pretty pumped. He said he's been busy in the sim and was also over in Silverstone driving that Valkyrie new LMH car for Harder Racing, and they're hopeful that a lot of these Harder Racing drivers are going to be given the opportunity one of those precious seats next year, so it's pretty exciting times for the young Canadian.
Oh, it is indeed. He's been a talent on a lot of folks' radars for a number of years. I remember people talking in almost hushed tones about this Canadian named Roman who was racing in what was at the time called Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada. This was 7 or 8 years ago. He was so young at the time, maybe 15 or 16, but already winning races, going up against the likes of Zachary Robichon and others in that series.
Then he got the opportunity at the Rolex 24. He drove for WRT there, I believe it was, and Ian James was one of his teammates, who's the team principal at Heart of Racing, and Ian immediately recognized the talent and the personality of Roman and took him under his wing. Kind of works as a driver manager as well for him, so been giving him great opportunities with this whole effort that they have in multiple championships.
For that team, like you said, so much on the horizon, running 2 cars next year in the World Endurance Championship in the hypercar class, and we'll see at least one stateside in IMSA as well, going for overall honors. It's a wonderful car, non-hybrid, naturally aspirated V12. By all accounts, it sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, it certainly does. I listened to some testing footage when they shook the car down about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's the real deal. Pretty exciting.
How an Aston should sound, in my opinion. These are sharp cars too, both the GT3 and GT4 version of the Vantage, but I do miss the wail of the V12. That's the JMF Motorsports crew looking at the damage to Demi Chalkas there. And it is significant. It looks like any chance at a good result out the window. The man on the move here has been Colin Garrett, though. Fastest lap each of the last 2 laps, and he has caught Roman DeAngelis.
Yeah, well, these top 4 have been dicing out through the first phase of this race, and we've seen Colin Garrett go side by side with Kevin Boehm. He's escaped his clutches now and is chasing after these leaders once again.
Heard from Kevin's camp, and he said with the amount of rain they've had in testing and in practice, just not many green flag laps to dial that car in, so it was a bit of a guess. Pit window is open, it would appear, because a number of teams have called their cars into the pit lane. The front runners weren't there at the right time to be able to take advantage of that. We should see some the next time by.
Yeah, opened up about a lap ago, so it's not always the leaders, and obviously your strategy is if you got the faster driver in, you're going to keep them out and run the risk of a full course yellow, but nonetheless you want to maximize your stint length for guys like Roman DeAngelis.
Continues to lead in Pro-Am. Johann Schwartz sits second with his teammate Colin Harrison right behind. A double podium at the moment. I mean, still a long way to go here, but for Tech Sport, given the turmoil under that tent, with all the changes over the last month or so, and they did not have a great start to the weekend either. One car had an engine change, precautionary engine change, and I know the other had some issues with some braking, but they've been able to dial those issues in, or out, I suppose. It's been a strong day here today for this Tech Sport team. This is the first of those cars. Even with the damage, Johann Schwartz still looking pretty quick.
He kind of got that big bump there going through turn one when he sort of like had to whoa it down a little bit, and Chalska scarred into the rear tail of that. I don't think it's probably too much of a performance. It does look like one of the fenders has flared out a little bit, maybe costing him some straightaway speed, but I would think that the handling is still fine.
Leaders are in. Tyler Gonzalez covering possibly for the potential of a full course yellow, electing to make that pit stop now. DeAngelis stays out as anticipated, as does Grisham. So those two now run 2 overall, but still, of course, owe the pit stop. Here's the Smooge Racing team. No tire changes in Pirelli GT4 America. Might have stopped a little short of the marks. Looked like they had to roll that car forward. Gonzalez is out, and Corey Lewis, his first weekend with the team, jumps aboard.
Can't change tires, but you are allowed to do tire pressure adjustments, no refueling. Let's get Corey locked and loaded here. Great job there by Tyler. Great job on that opening corner to swing it around the outside, grab the lead from JCD, and really hauled the mail here in the early going. Nice fast lap so far.
We heard from Corey Lewis in his interview. He said the starts are key, and Tyler nailed it on the start to get them to the point. Now the car released. We'll just check to make sure they get the timing right, but that looked like a picture-perfect
stop. Someone missed their pit
stop.
box, it looked like. I'm not sure if it was on the release there, whether that caused someone to miss their pit entry. You see a BMW there sitting out of position, it looks like.
Yeah, that's true. Here's the 33. This is the Catania car. Gonzalez will leave the way that he came in as the leader of this bunch. Kenton Cook here in the 97. I think any car that might have had an issue in the pit lane did not affect this top group. They still run in the same order effectively as they did coming in.
Busy weekend for Kenton. Brandon Vandal's making their debut in Fanatec GT. Didn't get to see any action today, but certainly he's been in the car this weekend in the testing. Madison Snow, his co-driver, got involved in a first lap incident, and they didn't see any further action, unfortunately.
We heard from Corey Lewis earlier, and he was telling us about just how good Tyler Gonzalez has been. We saw it on display, and now let's hear from the man himself with DJ.
Well, he's a driver that I know quite well from GR Cup North America, but Tyler Gonzalez, that first corner, one of the best I have seen you pull. Talk me through that move.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to take the lead early, and I had a pretty good run going up the straight, coming to the green, and I was able to stick right beside the Porsche and just outbroke him, ran on the outside, and luckily that yellow came out and it stopped anybody from getting a run on me going into 5. But overall, it was a good stint. My gear wrench Toyota Supra is really fast out there, and you know, Corey's going to go out there. He's going to do an amazing job like always, and hopefully we can get a good result.
Wanted to ask you, though, quickly, that looked like there was maybe an issue with the pit stop. Were you a little short of the marks, or you kind of looked like you lurched forward or something? Was something going on there?
Yeah, I mean, the car usually has an auto shut-off whenever it feels it come to a stop, and for some reason it didn't stop, but no big deal. You know, just click the off button and hop back out. We still had plenty of time, so all good.
All right, well, all good, and definitely all good on track. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a look at it again because this was the car that was controlling the race before the pit stop, and that pit stop is under review, Cal.
just there, and then suddenly it moves. So, you know, personnel involved, they may call that. I don't think he ran over anything per se, but definitely it was kind of a dangerous situation. Obviously, he was making light of it. Like, no big deal.
I did not know that about the auto shutoff feature. That was illuminating. And as the truck points out, neither did the car, apparently, in that moment. But at any rate, we'll see what ultimately is handed down by the stewards regarding that situation.
This is a good battle going on here. Eric Filgueira's championship leader. Zach Anderson comes into this championship round in third position with his teammate Colin Garrett. He knows he's got to beat Filgueira. He's got to eat into that championship lead. He's going to be up on the wheel big time.
This is effectively for the lead of the race. Here comes Roman DeAngelis from the lead. He will pit. This is the Pro-Am leader. And where he comes out relative to those around him becomes the question.
Could have probably gone one more lap, but they didn't want to cut it too close in case there is a yellow. If you did get caught out by that, they will extend that drive time by 5 minutes so that you don't run afoul of that if there's a late caution within that window where everyone's doing their final pit stop or their only pit stop.
Filgueira sensing some pressure looming here from Zach Anderson. An early turn in just to dissuade the 51 from poking its nose up the inside. All three of these cars, the Porsche, the two BMWs, still chasing that Supra. Now driven by Corey Lewis.
Tell you what, Zach Anderson this year has been amazing. Some of the moves he made at VIR at the top of the S's were just simply sensational. He's got a lot of form right now and a lot of confidence going on.
In the offseason, a series of short documentaries about Zach and his season last year appeared on YouTube. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'd really recommend it. Shed a lot of light into Zach and his
Kennan
journey.
Cook down to the inside. That tried to surprise Zach there, side by side. They've done this a lot of times this year. Zach is off and on, probably lose some acceleration. That was a big move over to the right.
Not sure if he knew where that other BMW was. Looked like maybe he was trying to close the door, not realizing it was already alongside. Did not seem to make any contact. Meanwhile, here comes Gray Newell now in the car that was started by DeAngelis, and that makes this really tight.
Well, there's a lot of respect between these two, but elbows are out right now. Not sure if they're going to be sharing a beer here tonight.
Wow. Kenton Cook, forceful, but he gets the move made and brings Random Vandals on what has been a difficult day for them. Two cars in two different series eliminated on the first lap of their respective races. This could salvage something for those under that
surprise
tent.
here. This is turn 14. It's very rarely you can make a move on a car that's up to speed through that corner, and suddenly Zach Anderson gets off, and I'm not sure if that was he didn't realize that Kenton was already alongside and was trying to defend the inside lane or not, but that was very late to make that move.
A warning has been issued for driving standards for the two cars in question.
Glad they didn't give those back in my day. But that was pretty feisty. And again, they're fighting for championship. Eric Filgueira leads with JCD. That's the Porsche immediately in front of these two BMWs right now. So they recognize the haste is there. They've got to claw points back from the RS1 machine.
The message from the Random Vandals team was Kevin Boehm's job was to set the table for Kenton Cook here to go on the attack in his stint. They feel like they've got something in the second half of this race to try and challenge Eric Filgueira for position, but also for crucial points.
He has caught him in a hurry.
Yep.
He is absolutely flying, Kenton Cook is.
And collectively, they are making some inroads, it would appear, on Corey Lewis.
Cook just laid down fastest middle sector of this race so far.
This is the top three in the silver class running in this group. Anderson has dropped off the tail a little bit. Then you get to the leader in Pro-Am, which is Gray Newell, and his co-driver, Roman DeAngelis, is standing by with DJ.
All right, well, Ryan, I am down with Roman DeAngelis here. Roman, a great first stint for you, setting up your teammate quite well. How's the car feeling? How's the track? And how far can you guys go ahead?
Yeah, we'll see. We tried a different strategy this weekend, obviously rotating the starting drivers for each race. Normally I start races too. So yeah, just kind of went with a different strategy. We knew we'd struggled a little bit here with the straight line speed compared to some of the other manufacturers. So yeah, just took a gamble and tried to get some points on the Porsches ahead of us in the championship. So yeah, I handed the car over to Gray, third overall, and I think in a decent track position compared to the other Pro-Am cars. And I'm sure he'll do a great job and see where we end up later today. So.
All right, well, best of luck to you, my friend, and best of luck to the Red Hard Racing Aston Martin team.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Came into this round of the championship third in points, but behind Walker and Macquarie, who had that incident early in this race, so potential leapfrog over them.
But this is the car that's giving chase, and Kai Van Berlo is flying. In fact, he's not chasing anymore. He has made the pass on this lap, and Kai Van Berlo has taken the lead in Pro-Am in the car started by Kurt Swearingen. In the meantime, battle for second in silver. Eric Filgaris in the Porsche up against Kenton Cook in the BMW, carving their way around the carousel.
Yeah, Kenton Cook's car is really hooked up here. He's a man on a mission right now. He has to beat Filgaris, and then he'd love to go chase down Corey Lewis and buffer the points even more. He's frustrated by not getting his GT3 start here today, so he's ramped up. A lot of energy on board that car right now.
Filgaris able to cover off the inside move into Canada corner. Reigning champion in Fanatec GT from a year ago. Had a great season with Stephen McAleer. The year before, he won a championship right here in Pirelli GT4 America. Made the step back this year with that RS1 team. It was not supposed to be this driver lineup, though. It was a last-minute change to make a different plan for the year, and JCD was drafted in to join Eric Filgaris, and they have had a fantastic season.
Yeah, and Eric has talked about a very different approach to their racing between Stephen McAleer and JCD, but it's working. They're getting results.
Can't go wrong between the two of them. Consummate pros both, McAleer and John Capestro Dubets.
Looks like Zach Anderson has regrouped a little bit. Looks like he's being dropped big time, like there may have been something wrong with his race car, but certainly that last lap, he took about a second out of that gap to Filgaris and Kenton Cook, who may be compromising their lap time a little bit by fighting like this, but Zach Anderson's car is quick.
It is. Starting to close back in. This battle hasn't gone anywhere either. Kenton Cook and Eric Filgaris locked together. Saw a shot a few moments ago of Kai Van Berlo, who leads now in Pro-Am. Great duel,
Zach Anderson wild there through turn 6. He is digging deep. I think he's fired up. I'm not sure he's really happy about that. Oh, and Kenton Cook looks to the inside. Couldn't make it stick on Eric Filgaris.
Gripping stuff between these two, and it's letting Corey Lewis start to pull away. Not by much, it's only a second.
Yeah, I think Lewis may be vulnerable. I think all three cars behind him have the pace if they were in clean air and not fighting each other.
Certainly feel that way about the BMWs. Just how compromised Filgaris has been playing defense here, I'm not sure. We do have this, though. The leader has a 5-second post-race time penalty for that pit stop issue that we saw in the replay. That would drop him down to 4th as they run. So this becomes the battle then for the class lead as well as the overall lead. Oh, here comes Cook again. He's going to try that move into 14. We saw it work to get around Zach Anderson a few moments ago.
And Filgaris got a little bit wide there. He had to wait to get to Parham. That's allowed Kenton to get the inside lane going up this front straightaway here.
Again, with that penalty looming for Corey Lewis, this is the battle for the de facto race lead. Side by side in the run down to turn 1. We've seen the outside line work from time to time. That's where Filgaris situates himself. He can't, though, hang with the BMW.
Watch Zach, big run through there. Filgaris tried to hang tough around the outside and has given Anderson the run down into turn 3.
And that one looked easy. Anderson back up a spot. He's now into effectively second on the road, but what can Filgueras do? Can he counterattack now?
Well, I think that Porsche has got a little bit more speed than the BMWs. That's what allowed him to get alongside Kenton Cook on the run up into turn 1 on the good rubbered-in zone. But right here, Zach Anderson is just manipulating that line. Totally legit to maintain that track position. Let's see if he can get back on the tail of Kenton Cook. And can either of these BMWs chase down Corey Lewis? But Lewis has that penalty, so right now that would be a battle for the win.
Some savvy car placement by Zach Anderson. He left about 3/4 of a car width, not enough for Filgueras to poke his nose to the inside a couple corners ago into turn 5, and Eric just has to settle back in.
That pass by Kenton up into turn 1 was really nicely managed. He just went in super deep on the brakes, but he didn't overshoot the corner. He got that position. A lot of drivers who don't have the experience should really watch that and just see how he dealt with that situation. Slowed it down at apex, just Filgueras to the outside, knew where he could go with that, and that then allowed Anderson to run as well.
Now, what Kenton needs to do is just hang with Corey Lewis, and the win is his, unless Zach Anderson starts to close in, and then the calculus changes.
Yeah, and what is the dynamic between those two after a little bit of argy-bargy earlier in this race?
Well, remember, the two have been warned already, so they'll need to be on their best behavior should they find themselves once again inside the final 20 minutes. New leader in the AM class. It had been Rob Holland and Jaden Lander, but our two-time and defending champions now have made their way to the front. Charlie Poston's made the pass, and this is how he did it.
Sets up here. Oh, 0.99 gets wide there into 14, makes it easy for Charlie Poston to grab the lead there.
Following him through was Austin Crines.
I saw initially, I thought, well, he's not close enough, and then suddenly.
For a long time, this would have been a battle for class position. Austin and Roland Crines, his father, were in the AM class until Austin got bumped to, really restored to his silver FIA driver grading. He had been running under a derogation. So now they find themselves in Pro-Am, and Austin has been really stout this year at a couple of occasions. I've been super impressed with his pace.
Yeah, really has been impressive this year. Jaden Lander just trying to regroup here, made that fatal little error on the entry to turn 14. Charlie pounced up front. Here comes Kenton Cook on the leader, Corey Lewis. He'll know the situation. I'm sure the team has alerted him to the penalty that Corey has to pay post-race.
For the moment, Kenton seems to have pace in hand over Anderson. We'll have to wait and see what the lap times look like when we come around the next time.
He fast lap for Kenton Cook that last tour around here at 2:16.7. So what he doesn't want to have happen is that Corey Lewis kind of stymies him and allows Zach Anderson to have a bit more pace and close up on them. Clear lap. Kenton has the pace to win this race. And he has the track position right now, but if Corey Lewis backs him up into Zach Anderson, that could change it completely.
Ivan Berlo leading in Pro-Am. This could be a double win day for Kurt Swearingen today. Very similar to Justin Rothberg, who won in GT America and Fanatec GT. Swearingen had a last lap pass for the lead in the GT America race GT4 class this morning, and he now, as the co-driver to Kai Van Berlo, could be staring at another race win.
Yeah, and he's another one of the drivers who's having such an impressive 2024 season. Kurt is just gaining in confidence every single weekend, it seems. Kai's doing a great job of tutoring him. Here we see this battle up front. Again, the car in front right now has got a 5-second penalty that would drop him down, but if he tries to manage his pace anyway and keep Kenton behind him, Zach Anderson could close in and then go to battle again.
He would close in because the pace deficit between Lewis and Anderson, 0.4 of a second. The gap is only 1.6. Easy math there, that within 4 or 5 laps, and we have enough time for that, Anderson would be caught up to Lewis, let alone to Kenton Cook. So Yeah, Kenton's going to have to get the move on here if he's going to feel confident in coming away with the race win today.
You see Lewis there, just so savvy in terms of placement of the car down at the brake zone for turn 5, being proactive. Got that penalty for the lurch when Gonzalez jumped out, but doesn't want to get a penalty for any driving standards or blocking right now, so he's doing everything in his book here, and Kenton looks down to the inside, not close enough. This is going to allow Zach Anderson to get ever closer here as Corey Lewis is being super defensive here.
Well, we know the post-race penalty will have an impact on this car, Corey Lewis, the leading car. Another class leader has a post-race time penalty, the 36 of Postons and Clay, leaders in AM, so that changes the focus here for Jaden Lander. He just needs to stay within 3 seconds.
Wow. A crazy day with penalties and all sorts of weather variations, keeping everyone on their toes. So for Charlie Postons, he needs to know that he's got to get on the gas and try and gap Jaden by 3 seconds here.
Kenton still stalking, looking, probing for a weakness, and hasn't found one yet. And all the while, Zach Anderson gets closer, even as he drops wheels left and right in his almost reckless pursuit of the top 2.
Yeah, he's certainly given it everything in every inch of the track and a lot more. Look at Lewis there just hugging that inside line. It's going to really compromise his speed here through turn 1. Ken is going to try and time it here, do the crossover. Looks to the inside. I think he's got it.
This is a big move for Kenton Cook. He needs to get this pass made so he can scamper off and not have to worry as much about the pursuing Zach Anderson. He's able to make that pass. Looks like Corey Lewis got a decent run there out of turn 3. How hard will he now fight Anderson, knowing he's got a penalty that will come his way post-race?
Well, he's got to keep going. He wants to get the lead back and gap these drivers by 5 seconds, so he's not going to make it easy on Zach Anderson either. But that was beautifully judged there by Kenton Cook, just recognized with Lewis on the compromised inside line and just did that crossover perfectly. And that's where you see the racecraft of someone like Kenton climbing the hill there. He didn't go defensive. He recognized that Tyler was not quite close enough to make that move, and just kept his own line, maximized the turn-in point, and kept the speed up.
Still strong weekend for Smooth Racing with the somewhat unexpected shakeup in the driver lineup, going from John Chesbray to Corey Lewis alongside Tyler Gonzalez. Weren't for that penalty, certainly they would be in a really strong position here. Still could be a podium day because this group is dropping Eric Filgares. The question is, will it be enough by the end of this race? In the meantime, Van Berlo leads in Pro-Am. There's Kevin Bohm, co-driver to Kenton Cook. Kevin got his part of the job done in that opening stint.
Came into this race 21 points back of the championship leaders. Right now it'd be a 10-point swing.
How many times, Calvin, has it come down to Indianapolis in Pirelli GT4 America? It seems like every year in Silver and in Pro-Am especially, those two classes, we've got a battle for the championship down to the final corner of the final lap almost.
Yeah. For Kenton Cook, what he'd love to see happen is for Corey Lewis to gap Filgares by 5 seconds and keep that and push Filgares down another couple of points.
Exactly. It's definitely a possibility. Filgares is now 4.6 seconds behind the leader, so it's about 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds behind Corey Lewis as they run. And just a reminder that, well, this is actually new news. This is we did pass this along, that the AM leader there does have that 3-second time penalty. So where Jaden Lander runs in the blue Porsche, that would be enough with the penalty taken into account to vault back into the AM class lead.
Yeah, so Tom Dyer just got around Charlie Postons there. But now you see Lander right on the tail of Charlie for the AM class lead. He doesn't need it. He's just got to stay close with that penalty post-race for the 36 car.
at Million closing in 2. That's been impressive in a partial schedule this year. Living in Pro-Am this weekend and trying to catch up with Tom Dyer. That's the Aston at the front of this train. Will be the next car for position for Million, who's in the BMW, 4th car in line.
Yeah, for Charlie, he needs Dyer just to disappear and create a gap that he can drive into to try and establish that gap. But Landon's got pace. He's just made that little error getting in the grass there on the entry at turn 14 that gave the lead to Charlie. So I think he's got good pace here in this Porsche.
Elvan Goulart, too, at the tail end of this train. Car had run in the top 10 overall in the first stint. Has dropped back a little bit. But Elvan in this Nissan has a chance to pick up another position or 2 before it's all said and done. Should note that the team car from Tech Sport currently sits 3rd in Pro-Am. It's Neudorf now behind the wheel, but the car that Johann Schwartz started, remember that car is damaged too from an early race incident.
Up front, Kenton Cook does lay down a new fast lap. He's established lead now, 3 seconds almost on Zach Anderson. Let's look at that gap between Corey Lewis and Phil Garris. That's only 1.8 seconds, so Phil Garris would jump up to 3rd the way they're running right now.
We could have a battle for 2nd here in class before too much longer. This is Grain Newell. Team car of Hannah Greenmeyer is behind, but then there's Neudorf in that aforementioned Tech Sport Nissan with the damaged back bumper. He clears the silver class car, and the next car, well, maybe he didn't clear. It was a little premature on my end. Hannah fighting back now, doing some admirable work as a tail gunner for her teammate. Now Neudorf makes the pass, and he sets off with his target acquired out the windscreen. That is for 2nd. Gray Newell right up the road, and Andy Lee in the Flying Lizard Nissan 2 is part of this battle for the final steps of the podium in the Pro-Am ranks.
Yeah, it's a great little battle. Certainly Neudorf used all of the track limits there, so they'll probably give him a warning for that. New racing surface, but a lot of the old curbing remains here, Ryan, so when you go for a little bit of a ride, you have to be careful.
It's true. When the repave happened, it was the October before last that it started and then was ready for the 2023 race season. Extreme effort was taken to maintain the track layout, everything from the grading, the banking, or the camber, I should say, in the corners, to the width, of course, of the circuit. But the curbs are by and large untouched and unchanged from that previous pavement that was out here, and we've seen a few times throughout the course of the weekend that transition can be jarring.
It can, typically right at the end. I think when you go over it initially in the middle part of the curve, but when you finish it off, you're going to go for a bit of a ride, obviously.
Race Vision powered by AWS, most positions gained. How about this car from Flying Lizard? Big bounce back from them. Andy had a crash in qualifying for race 2 that did damage this car. This is a backup chassis also. And Demir Hott and Andy Lee look like they could be in line for a great result here today.
He's on the charge there a little bit, gained 9 positions since the start of the race here in that car with Hayner.
Yeah, Alexandra Hayner, who started the season in GR Cup, has come over to join Pirelli GT4 America, and this battle doesn't last too long as Neudorf sweeps around Gray Newell in the Aston, and Gray's going to have to fight just to hang on to a podium here.
His teammates said they're struggling a little bit in straightaway speed compared to some of the other manufacturers. You're certainly seeing it there.
And Roman also did mention they're doing something different, kind of like what we've seen Regulator Racing do in Fanatec GT, where you start the more experienced driver in the Pro-Ams and flipping that around relative to the opposition. That's what Heart of Racing is doing here. This is the move for 3rd in the class, and Andy Lee makes it look relatively simple.
Yeah, Andy Lee has so much GT4 and GTS, as it was called back in the day, experience. Now getting opportunities with GT3 machinery certainly, but it's a good home for him. Natural choice for Flying Lizard. He's under the umbrella of the group, and just slides here to fill in for Baptista this weekend.
Yeah, Andy's something of a Swiss Army knife for Flying Lizard. When they need to plug him into a GT3 car, he can do it. When they need him in a GT4 car, he can do it. When they need him in like a Lamborghini Super Trofeo race, he can do that too, and has had success in all of the aforementioned categories. Great to have that kind of a resource at your disposal. Great coach as well as a racing driver.
Well, you have to be in this format of racing now. You need to be able to be a great tutor to the AM partner that you may be paired with. James Clay here looking on at his progress with Charlie Postins.
And my guess is he was pointing at the time difference between the two. There's a 3-second penalty hanging over this car. The gap between Postins and second place in the class was like 2.84 seconds or something like that. So just barely good enough to hang on.
I think he's got that now. Let's look at the math there. He's right at 3 seconds, I believe.
We had it on our screen briefly what the gap was at the line, and it was just under 3, but now Postins might be starting to build that advantage back, and that could be enough for them to hang on for the win. Race control, car 23 behind car 26,
We
passing
saw
beyond
that.
track limits. You called that, Cal.
Yeah, he was way out of bounds there in turn 1. And it didn't happen immediately, but it certainly set up the situation a little bit deeper into the lap.
Well, the penalty didn't happen immediately either, and I guess, you know, he could have just given that spot up right away. This is a look at it again. That's way outside of the white line that is being used for track limits. It's tough to have to give these positions back because the 26 car is way back behind.
Yeah, and he dropped another position, so he had to give up a couple of spots there by doing that.
Yes, yeah, that's right. So he finally now, I think, has let the appropriate Aston by, but I guess that's why if you know you've run afoul of the rule, you give that position back right away because it becomes more costly, especially if there's a pace disparity between yourself and that other car in question.
And I think that puts Newell back on the podium for now. Still a bit of time left on the board.
Spot on as usual, that's right. Ray Newell back up into third place now. Neudorf and Schwartz just off the podium.
Photobomb.
Kevin won't smile yet.
No, he's nervous.
That's a faint smile. We'll give him that. This is going to be close to see whether or not we'll see the white flag here, and you don't need to see a white flag. They were doing 2:16s. There were 2:16 on the clock.
Yeah, he's got to manage this. He doesn't want to have to do an extra lap.
No.
He's got a big enough lead here. You know, don't do it early, but get towards the end, get down in Canada corner. The team needs to look at the sector times and see what he's doing. Maybe he can just back off a little bit to get to the finish and get the checker.
Yeah, last lap was a 2:16.9. That was faster than anyone behind him. And with 2:16 on the clock as he crossed the line, just moderately managing that. This should be and could be the final lap of the race, unless Kitten's having so much fun he just wants to run another one.
Maybe he's enjoying life. I relate it to being out on the golf course late in the day. There's nothing like it. Being here at Road America for a race car driver is that type of scenario. Just the sun is setting, perfect scenario.
Now we did get confirmation this will be the final lap of the race. So as I said, you don't need to have a white flag, but once you have one, it becomes the last lap of the race for sure. So no management needed from Kenton Cook. He won't get his bonus lap if he wanted it. Not sure he did. And it looks like he is set, along with Kevin Boehm, to take a victory here at Road America. This is going to be interesting in the AM class. Let's check this again. Postins back to Lander. What is the gap? I think Lander's close again.
Yeah, Lander's got it back under 3. So Charlie needs a big lap here and hope that Lander doesn't have a great one. It's going to be tight.
He does have a little bit of traffic to deal with in the form of Elevon Goulart, and he's on the headlight flasher button to make sure Elevon knows, hey, I gotta go. This is for the win, and ooh, Elevon didn't seem to get a great run out of turn 5 there.
It's an anxious situation here for Jaden to deal with.
Tech Sport
Look at
Leading the
Charlie
hell of a
all over the
no.
curb on entry there. He's looking for the lap time right now.
But at the front of the field, Kenton Cook comes through turn 14. It was a well-judged drive to get to the front, set up by Kevin Bohm. Passed the baton to Kenton Cook, and Kenton needed no further help from there. He crosses the line and takes the win in race 1 of the weekend. Random Vandals Racing salvaging a great result in this race after a trying start to the day. Anderson and Lewis on the road, at least, are your top 3. We have to check and see how close was Phil Garris. I think he will jump ahead when that penalty is taken into account. In the meantime, Kai Van Berlo and Kurt Swearingen score a big win for ACI Motorsports. They're second on the day after Swearingen's GT America class win earlier on this afternoon. Waiting for Andy Lee and Gray Newell. And then in the meantime, we've got this battle. It's not these 2 cars per se, but Jaden Lander needs to stay within 3 seconds of the car 2 cars ahead of him, Charlie Poston's, and that would be enough to get the win. We're going to have to do some math at the line, but the checkered flag waves. Poston's crosses the line. Now so too does Lander, and the gap is close enough. That is a win for Rotec Racing, Jaden Lander and Rob Holland once the penalty gets factored in.
Yeah, about 1.9 seconds was the gap there, so great job by Lander to keep it close. Charlie will be disappointed. A lot of support here with the Hobbs family. He's very close with David and Greg and everyone on the sidelines cheering him on, but he'll come up just a little bit short.
Really good result, though, for Rotec Racing. Hard-earned. Had some tough luck at times this season. And we've done some more calculations for you. These races are scheduled for an hour. This is about as close as we've ever come to 1 hour on the nose, something like 60 minutes and 83 thousandths of a second, I guess. So that worked out just perfectly. Well managed for Random Vandals Racing. Kenton Cook and Kevin Bohm score the victory.
And with that, they really tighten up this championship. 21 points back. I think they'll gain 10, so it should be 11 going into tomorrow's race.
This championship never seems to disappoint when it comes to those battles towards the end of the year, going for the big points places. Today, too, admittedly not off to the cleanest of starts, but once we got going, once the race did get started in earnest, we had fun battles to keep track of. We had pit stop dramas and penalties to keep tabs on. Good thing it's the last race of the day, because it's enough to wipe a guy out. Here are the provisional race results on what has turned into a beautiful evening here at Road America. You'd never know there was a deluge earlier this afternoon. Actually, a couple of them, not just the one. Kevin Bohm and Kenton Cook are your winners overall and in silver, ahead of Auto Technics, Colin Garrett and Zach Anderson. John Capestre-Dubets and Eric Filgaris do get that promotion up to the final step of the podium. That's important in that championship battle. Gonzalez and Lewis, though, could be a force to be reckoned with in race 2 tomorrow with a cleaner pit stop. Van Berlo and Swearingen winners in Pro-Am, ahead of Andy Lee and Demir Hott. Really good bounce back from them after the crash in qualifying this morning. DeAngelis and Newell will take home the final step of the podium within the Pro-Am ranks. Then to Am we go, where Jaden Lander and Rob Holland get the win, ahead of James Clay and Charlie Postons. Chris Walsh, Nick Shanny down in 18th overall, but good enough for 3rd within the class for the Karis Kowis race team. That's the top 20 at the very least in Pirelli GT4 America. Here in race 1 at Road America, we get to do it again tomorrow. Who knows what is in store for us with Mother Nature? I've learned not to trust any weather forecast this weekend. Nothing has gone according to plan, but it's made for an interesting day because these teams have been trying to adapt on the fly, and it's hard to make the right choices, as we've learned.
It is. This one was relatively smooth, and the forecast was correct for a change. It's been totally wrong all weekend long. One of the drivers alerted to that. You can't pay any attention to the radar. It just seems to swing around us or swing towards us based on what we've been looking at. But good clean race once we got through that first corner incident, and some good championship mix-ups as well, some big movers and shakers.
Did get an interesting message from race control. Finishing drivers, car 97 and car 51, need to report to the race director after the podium. That is race winner Kenton Cook, and also Zach Anderson in the second place car, and I suspect that has to do with the moment out of turn 14.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Kenton put a pretty bold move there on Zach, but that move coming off, I think Zach's going to have to explain his actions there a little bit.
Well, we'll let them sort that out tonight, and if anything should be handed down, we'll report on it tomorrow, of course. Kenton Cook is out of the car. Big celebration down in Victory Lane, and DJ Clark is there.
I am down here with your race winners. A big picture with one of their biggest fans. But Kevin, I want to start with you. You set up that car perfectly in the first stint, got it to where it needed to be, and came home with the victory.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to honestly hang on to that group, and I mean, it got a little more exciting than I wanted it to at times. Just went pretty wide there in, what was it, 13 once. That was a pretty wild ride, but was able to maintain touch with the guys. And really just wanted to get anybody I could get to make Kenton's job a little bit easier. We knew we had a little bit of work to do, and I think every time that I can give the car to Kenton, and I know he's going to do a lot with it. So, yeah, it was a wicked start, and yeah, what a way to finish it.
What a way to finish it indeed. Kenton, will come over to you. Absolutely mega moves to get that done. You claim another victory on the year. I just saw you take a big breath. I think that may have taken it out of you a little bit.
Oh man, yeah, it was a heck of a race. Kevin gave me a good car, not a scratch on it, unfortunately. I think there's a scratch or two on this one, but really unfortunate for Paul and Chris at the beginning there. Paul has I think he's hurt his back a little bit, so he's getting that checked out right now. So we won this one for him, and we've had some unlucky luck over the past few races, and with Paul and I co-driving, and then obviously us at VIR. It was so to be able to win this one feels really good, and we were battling hard out there, and yeah, obviously the contact with Zach, I need to look at it after. I don't know what or how. I know it was an aggressive move, but I felt like I had only enough space for my car, and there wasn't enough. And once we touched, it was kind of a cascading thing, at least I think. But obviously, if I doored him off the track, then that's kind of aggressive. But yeah, then he proceeded to just drive into my left rear, so I assume he was mad. So, but other than that, really just very fortunate to co-drive with Kevin and be a part of the Random Vandals family, and hopefully we have a good one at the next one as well tomorrow.
All right, well, we'll be watching for it. Guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good to get the insight there from Kenton, and I'm sure we'll hear more about all of that ahead of tomorrow's race, but what did you take away?
Well, it's a bold move in at 14, particularly with a car that's got good pace. So I think Zach wasn't expecting there was maybe more of a touch than I really saw on camera. But Zach's actions coming off, I thought initially he dropped a wheel and it kind of jerked him across the racetrack. But I don't think that was the case. I think that was retaliation. So the stewards will sit them down, get the perspective, and then make a decision from there.
We've been talking about that championship battle in the silver class throughout the course of the race. Let's see how this race affected it. JCD, Jean-Cabestre Dubets, and Eric Filgares with a narrow 8-point edge over Kevin Boehm and Kenton Cook. That's the difference between first and second as far as the points paid are concerned. Then it's Colin Garrett and Zach Anderson down in third. Tyler Gonzalez now on his own in fourth place with the new co-driver here this weekend, but really out of the mix, I think it's those top three crews that have a chance in the final 5 races.
Yeah, I think Filgares and JCD may gain a few points. I'm not sure the Corey Lewis penalty has been factored in just yet.
Okay. Well, that makes it even more spicy going into the final 5 races. Let's hear from some more race winners. Pro-Am standing by with DJ.
Yes, I'm down here with our Pro-Am winners, Kai Van Berlo and Kurt Swearingen. Kai, I want to start with you. A great way to finish out that race. Looked like you were just having to slice and dice and kind of hold on to the back of those silver class drivers.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't do much today. I feel like all the effort was put in by the ACI crew. We've been making steps throughout the season and things seem to come easier and easier. Another thing is Kurt qualified in P7 this morning, which was P2 in class, which is obviously tremendous help. And ultimately, he did a great job, did the start, no damage, no mistakes. We had a perfect pit stop, and from then on, I don't want to say we were cruising, but it's just bringing it home, damage limitation, and scoring as many points as we can. So I've had harder races than the one today, but credit to Kurt, credit to the ACI guys, and super happy with the points, obviously.
Well, Kurt, I don't know if we've heard a better intro than that in the world, but 2 wins on the day. This is becoming a little bit of a habit for you at this point.
Oh, we hope it keeps to being a habit for the rest of the season. Let's win this thing.
All right, there it is. Your ACI Pro-Am winners. And then we're going to turn around right here. We've got our AM class winners, Jaden Lander and Rob Holland. Jaden, I want to start with you, my friend. You had to not only be worrying about the track, you had to be worrying about the stopwatch on that last run with the time penalty for the drivers in front.
Absolutely. I mean, Rob avoided the carnage in turn 1 on the first lap, gave me the car over, and then I just had to keep a 3-second gap to Postins in front of us. And we got it done. It was close, but that's racing.
That's racing indeed. Rob, I want to turn to you. A little bit of craziness there in the beginning of it. You managed to avoid it and put yourself in a fantastic position.
Yeah, it was absolutely nuts. I mean, I saw it starting to develop early. The guys were just fighting a little bit too hard. My big thing was getting through and making sure that Jaden had a good car. He's been quick all weekend, and so we were super pumped when he got in, and we were like, okay, we've got the gap, and let's just hold it. And then all of a sudden, everything kicked off, and I literally edge of my seat. I'm used to single driver stuff. I'm used to sprint stuff, so I'm sitting at the edge of the seat, nervous, the whole cart shaking, but we got it done. So first place, P1.
There it is. That is a great result here for your AM class victors.
Big smiles down in victory circle and great work all day from DJ Clark down in the pits for us here at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Beautiful weather now. Not sure what the future holds as we have a whole nother day to go tomorrow. Highlights from our race 1 today. On the pole, it was John Campestre-Dubets showing the way for RS1, but it didn't take long for that to change as Tyler Gonzalez swept around the outside and further back. Contact eliminated at least 4 cars from contention on the opening lap. On the restart, though, the racing was fierce, and it would remain so for the duration of the race. Gonzalez was able to sprint ahead to a big lead. Zach Anderson and Colin Garrett got shuffled back. Garrett then tried to recover. More fights there. This was behind the overall leader for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Big scary moment for Jaden Lander here. That's how he lost the lead on the road in the AM class, but was able to fight back and get the victory at the end. For the lead overall, Kenton Cook now in the 2nd stint goes up the inside of Corey Lewis, who had a penalty looming anyway, but he gets it done on the road. Kenton Cook takes the victory for Random Vandals. Kai Van Berlo and Kurt Swearingen win in Pro-Am, and the AM class goes to Rotec Racing's Rob Holland and Jaden Lander. Back with more tomorrow from Road America.